The Children's Bible, 2 Kings 22 through 23. Josiah, a righteous king. Some notes. After King Ahaz's death, his son Hezekiah reigned, followed by Manasseh, Amon, and then Josiah. It was during Josiah's rule in the last quarter of the 7th century BC that one of the major events in Hebrew history occurred: the finding of the Book of the Law, Deuteronomy. This document, which contains many of the rules for behavior and worship followed by Hebrews and Christians to this day, deeply impressed King Josiah. He tried to put his commands into effect by abolishing many of the pagan elements that had crept into the worship of his people, countering this document. Josiah was 8 years old when he began to rule, and he ruled 31 years in Jerusalem. He did that which was right in the sight of the Lord, and followed in the steps of David his forefather, and turned not aside to the right nor to the left. And it came to pass in the 18th year of King Josiah's reign that the king sent Shaphan the son of Azaliah the scribe to the house of the Lord. When Shaphan the scribe went to the temple of the Lord, Hilkiah the high priest said to him, "I have found the book of the law in the house of the Lord." And Hilkiah gave the book to Shaphan, and he read it. Then Shaphan the scribe showed the king the book, saying, "Hilkiah the priest has delivered this book to me." And Shaphan read it before the king. And when the king had heard the words of the book of the law, he tore his clothes, for he knew his fathers had not listened to the words of this book, to obey all the laws that were written down for them. The king sent for all the elders of Judah and of Jerusalem. Then he went up to the house of the Lord, taking all the men of Judah and all the inhabitants of Jerusalem with him, both the priests and the prophets, and all the people, both small and great. He read into their ears all the words of the book of the covenant which was found in the house of the Lord. The king stood by a pillar and made a covenant before the Lord, to walk in his ways and keep his commandments, and to follow his words and his laws, with all his heart and with all his soul, and to live up to the words of this covenant that were written in the book. And all the people agreed to the covenant. Then the king commanded Hilkiah the high priest, and the priests of the second order, and the keepers of the door, to bring forth out of the temple of the Lord all the vessels that were made for Baal, and his sacred wood, and for all the other gods, and he burned them outside of Jerusalem in the field of Kidron, and carried the ashes of them to Bethel. He put down the idolatrous priests whom the kings of Judah had ordained to burn incense in the high places, in the cities of Judah, and in the places round about Jerusalem, and also those who burned incense to Baal, to the sun, and to the moon, and to the planets, and to all the various gods. Josiah destroyed also the workers with ghosts and magics, and the wizards, and the images, and the idols, and all the evil things that were to be found in the land of Judah and in Jerusalem, so that he might live up to the words of the law which were written in the book that Hilkiah the priest found in the house of the Lord. There had been no king like Josiah, for he turned to the Lord with all his heart, and with all his soul, and with all his might, according to the law of Moses. Neither did any come after him who was his equal.